are, yes, we will start the recording. So the Global Bean Show Gardens are an international network of legume demonstration gardens. With, like you, they must have different reasons for having their gardens and different legumes that they present in them. And as you can see on the map, they are all over Europe. There are some in Germany, some in Spain, and we also have a garden in Kenya and in India that are some are here today. So that is good. Thank you. And we produce short videos. So next slide, Claudia. We produce short videos, so don't hesitate to have a look at the gardens at the videos the gardeners produce after the live garden tour. And now we're going to start with the first show garden, which is the Ecological Education Center LTZ with Andrea and Mark. Are you here, Andrea? So that is the first.
Yeah, we are here.
Ah, hello.
Yeah, I'm walking with the laptop because our handy it's perhaps probably too hot today for a handy and a Zoom meeting with it. But now I have.
Yeah, we can see you and hear you well, so it works. Thanks for being with us, Andrea and Mark.
So,
hello.
Hi. So, Andrea and Mark, you are maintaining about 200 common bean varieties, right? Together with a network of volunteers. What are your motivations behind this huge amount of work?
You're right, it's a lot of work, and we are maintaining it because first we were captured by the beauty of the bean seeds about 20 years ago, and then started the whole project. You could. Was ich jetzt?
We can hear you just fine.
Sorry,
the video is moving a bit, but it works.
Okay. Now. Genau.
Now it froze. Okay, maybe we try to come back to them in a minute. I don't know if we can.
Maybe we can move on to our show garden in Kenya.
Yeah, or do you want to?
Collection.
No, it comes back. Oh yeah, I'm afraid the connection is a bit bad. I will write to them. Anna, do you want to present the fastest bean competition meanwhile?
Yes.
Maybe.
While they are fixing the technical problems, we also have a fastest bean competition where the participants are growing beans and measuring the time it takes the bean to get to 1 meter. So there will be a first winner there, and then the second winner will be the tallest bean at the end of the competition. Yes, thank you, Claudio. So here we can see the updates from 3 participants. The first participant is in France, and the second, and as you can see, it was planted in May, I think, and now the bean is already over 1 meter, so that is great. Nicolas Carton also planted a bean. Maybe you can tell how that is going.
Yeah, it's not growing so fast because in Catalonia it's quite dry, and it's also a variety that's maybe not one of the fastest, but the most important is to participate, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's about 70 centimeters, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they look healthy.
And you intercrop them with maize, you said?
Yeah, I have some poles for support, but I also put some maize. The maize are too small for the beans because the soil is not very fertile, and I should have put the maize much before, otherwise they cannot really serve as a support. But it was a very spontaneous action, so it was not very much planned in advance.
Okay, well, I hope it still grows tall until the end of the contest. And the last person is Susan Young from the UK, which her bean also reached 1 meter on June 5th, if my memory serves correctly. And it's a gigantus bean, a variety from Creta. Exactly.
So do you know if Andrea and Mark are back, or they seem to have a quite slow connection?
Yeah, maybe we can move on with the Weltacker Berlin, which I know they are ready, so maybe we can.
Yeah, or I would prefer to keep up with the order that we planned. So if Dalmus and Evans are there.
Yes, Nicola.
Yeah, great. So we go right to Kenya directly. We fly very fast and get to Kenya, where Dalmus and Evans are growing some beans, right?
Yes.
So what are the goals of Seed Savers Kenya, and what do you grow here in this field that you're showing us?
Yes, thank you, Nicola. My name is Dalmas Mitei from Seed Savers Network Kenya. Seed Savers Network is a network of farmers in Kenya with a common call to conserve agrobiodiversity. What we do in Kenya is just trade farmers and also provide them with seeds, especially for traditional varieties such as beans. Over the last 11 years, we have trained over 60,000 farmers all over the country. We also have done some work in documentation of these varieties, the beans, all other varieties that are found in our country.
Excuse
yes,
me, Dalmus, could you maybe show us a little bit the garden, because now we see the beans, but yeah, exactly, to see a bit where you are, what the landscape looks like, and maybe then, yeah, nice.
Yeah, sorry. So I was just talking about what we do in a brief before we move to the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also with my farmer here. Maybe
exactly.
he can introduce himself.
Yeah, you are working closely with farmers, right? So how does the collaboration look like? Hey, Evans, welcome.
I'm Evans Chuto. I'm a farmer too in Vihiga in Kenya. We do seed multiplication. We plant seeds. We conserve these seeds. We have many varieties of seed, more than 40 varieties of bean seeds that we are doing here in Vihiga. I am a lead farmer, whereby I help farmers for doing seed multiplications, even for how to preserve. We use the biopesticide method, how to preserve these seeds. So we are doing that. Maybe you can have a look on some of seeds that we have.
Yeah, if you have the seeds
beans.
here, could you show
seed,
us the seeds?
Is okay.
Yes. Also, as we move to see the seeds, we also collaborate with the National Gene Bank to reintroduce some of the varieties of beans, the Pachyolus species. I don't know if you can see.
It's a little bit blurry, but we can, yeah, now it's better. Yeah. So how many varieties do you have in this field approximately?
But here we have 8 varieties.
Okay.
We have 8 varieties of these beans.
They are all local varieties.
They are local varieties.
Mm-hmm.
But as we shared, some are fast growing, some are a little bit growing too slow. And we also have some which are climbing beans.
Mm-hmm.
We intercrop them with maize.
So what's the reason for you to intercrop them with maize? Or several reasons, maybe even?
Maybe the first reason, most of we can see like maize is a heavy feed of the nitrogen. So
Can you excuse me? Can you show us the maize and bean intercrop again with the camera?
Yes, maybe you can move slowly as we explain.
Yeah.
So maize is a heavy feed of nitrogen. So use beans to add some nitrogen in soil. Maybe the second reason for intercropping, because to minimize the weeds in our farms, because most of the beans are bushy. So minimize even the weeds.
I don't know if you are able to see it well.
Yeah, if you keep the camera without moving too much for a few seconds, then we can see even better.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, so we see some beans are climbing nicely on the maize. How high is everything now? Is it big,
Yeah,
taller than you, or?
Yes, it's taller than me. It's about 2 meters high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of these varieties we plant so that we minimize the space. As you know, in the western part of Kenya, the land is so small, and we also need some food. Maybe most of the people consume maize. They make flour. They cook what we call ugali. I don't know if you know ugali.
The staple food of Kenya.
It's a staple food. So
can you
to
tell us
minimize,
what this is made of? I'm not sure everyone knows it.
yeah, the ugali is made from the flour of maize. Maybe I'll share the recipe next time if you like to know.
Yeah,
so
nice.
To make sure that we utilize the land, we intercrop with maize, and also to make sure that we have diverse food in our plates. In few years, previous years, we realized that farmers are malnourished. Some of them lack proteins, and there's no meat to eat. So we train them on how to produce these beans to ensure that they get protein and other nutrients.
Great.
So we introduced them with the beans. We did diversity status of the beans, and we discovered that some are lost due to many other factors like climate change. So we try to reintroduce them.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dalmus and Evans. I think we need to move on to the next garden, but thanks so much and for demonstrating intercropping live. We've been talking about intercrops in another public meeting, so it was really nice to see your inputs all the way from Kenya. I think it's great that technology can bring us live to Kenya because we're all more or less in Europe.
Nicola.
Thanks a lot.
We have a question.
We have a question in the chat. Yeah, please.
Are the plants rain-fed or irrigated is the question.
For us, yeah, we depend much on rain. In western part of Kenya, you receive a heavy rain, so it depends much on rain. Irrigation is quite expensive here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We have some requests in the chat for you sharing some recipes also. It would be nice to have some Kenyan food. So please feel free to share some in the chat later on if you want.
All right, thank you.
Nicolas, I have one question. I don't know if I should, please.
Yeah, if it's a short one.
Yeah, it's about the stability of the field without intercropping with maize. How does it work? Do you have special stock to maintain the stability?
Yeah, so even we do monocropping too.
Yeah.
We just even the stability is okay. You do monocropping, just beans without intercropping the maize. The reason why we intercrop because we need the soil to raise the soil fertility. That's why we intercrop with maize beans. But some of farmers we do intercropping, we do monocropping.
And how do they guarantee the stability without maize to guarantee the stability? Do they have some nest to maintain it, or how do they proceed?
I think they grow only the dwarf beans in monocrop then, no? I think we really need to move on. I'm sorry, but we have several other gardens that we want to show us. So you can ask more this kind of questions in the end from 6 o'clock on. Yeah, so let's.
Our next garden is Vitamin N in Germany, Wehrda, with Tanja Neuschild, who has a very interesting project that she's working on for her community and the children. So on to you, Tanja, if you are here.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Anne.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello,
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so Tanja, please, can you tell us a little bit what do you grow in your garden? And of course, we are mostly interested about the legumes that you are showing.
Yes, so we arranged here in our small village with one of the last local farmers of the village. We arranged that he could rent us one of his fields. So on this field, we are now growing this year for the first time local vegetables for the village. And also we wanted to to build up a global local bean show garden, which has the main scope to show the huge variety of different kinds of beans and legumes that there are in the world. So what we did is we collected all the types of beans and peas that we could find, and started by the end of May to construct like a green beans tunnel. So this is what you can see on the left side of the picture, and also on the right side.
Nice, nice. And I think you've been working with a lot of different people from your place, no? Even with younger people, right? Can you tell us a bit more how it all worked, how you found the people and how you did the communication?
Yeah, exactly. So the scope is to show the huge variety of legumes, especially to the people living in our village, just to raise again awareness for the consumption of legumes. So we started with an event day that we arranged with a local school, and there were 3 classes of a school coming to the field with children between 11 and 16 years. And they helped to construct the tunnel, what you can see here on the left side.
Nice. And who else will have the opportunity to visit your show garden? How do you reach out to even more people?
Yeah, now the legumes are growing, and once they will come up with some flowers, it's our intention to open the garden for the people living here in the village, and to arrange like garden tours. So to show them which different kinds of legumes are existing. And also we would like to arrange later the year a local village market celebration, let's say. So a market party where we want to get together people from the neighborhood to share the recipes of legumes, and to bring food cooked with legumes, and also to show again which different kinds of legumes were growing here in our village.
That's super nice. Claudio, can you show the next slide, please? I think we have one more. Yeah, exactly. That's the group of young people that were helping, right?
Exactly. So this is the group of young people. It was mainly children with a migration background. So Most of them didn't speak any word of German, so it was kind of challenging to get the communication right and to understand what we wanted to create, how to get the bamboo sticks together. And yeah, but you can see that it was successful because at the end we arranged to build up everything, and on the left side you see now the plants coming up. So this was a picture from last week, and during the last week it was, well, the plants now are like twice the height that you can see here.
Great, thanks a lot for sharing, Tanya, and congratulations for this super nice project. I hope they will have the opportunity to come and eat some of the bean pods then later.
That is what we're looking forward to. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
I think it's really important, such kind of legume projects for a community and as a service to society as well. And as a contribution to society, this is also the case of the Augustenberg Landwirtschaftliches Technologiezentrum, which is agriculture and technology center, also in Germany, but in a different place. So maybe on to you, Carola.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
And we can.
Great. Yeah. So we are in the south of Germany, very close to the French border, and we are a research institute. So we want to provide information for the farmers, and the background is the same like for everyone in this project. Like we want to bring more legumes into human consumption. And we actually got a lot of restaurants asking for where can we get legumes. And I know that many people also in Germany grow legumes, beans, like in the garden, but to get the amounts of beans to actually have like a permanent supply for a restaurant, to have the beans like in their everyday menu, you actually need a lot of amount of beans, and that was our way of thinking. So if we actually want to provide regional produce, we have to start to grow beans or other legumes on a bigger scale, so on a farm scale. So we have a new trial here with the beans, and I can show you the peanuts first, maybe, because it's a more exotic, even more exotic plant.
Yeah, please. And where did the idea come from? Tasting peanuts in Germany? That's a bit.
It is exotic, but it is a legume. So people might not know it. I mean, because everyone knows peanuts, and I don't think many people actually know how peanuts grow. So
yeah, show us, please.
This is a peanut plant. So it's still in the vegetative phase. By the time it has flowers, it will still take a couple of weeks. So these were planted at the end of May, actually. So roughly like 4 weeks old. And the special thing about peanuts, so they're also called ground nuts because they actually grow the pods inside the ground. So they grow into the soil and grow the peanuts there.
Nice. And how did you sow them? Is there a normal sowing machine is able to sow them, because the seed is quite big, right?
Yeah. So for us, the purpose is really to bring it into like the normal agricultural production. So we were planting these seeds with our normal planting machine. So the same one that we use for the beans, for our chickpeas, for the soybeans. So it went pretty well. The plant density is not that high. So the germination rate is not ideal, I guess. But we are still in a testing phase, and the most challenging part about the peanuts in the end will be like here in Germany, that they're actually ripe, like ready to be harvested in time before the winter comes. And then, of course, the challenge is to get them out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great, thanks a lot. That was interesting. Very exotic, very innovative also. Do you want to show us the Phaseolus beans, the common beans that you have here?
So so we have 14 different varieties. I can show you a couple of the seeds just to show how diverse they are. Or maybe we just, so they all have different colors. So these are all different varieties. It's actually not that easy to get seeds for beans for a bigger scale. So it's easier to get like a couple of seeds, like small packs for a garden scale, but not that much for like larger area. And for us, the main purpose is that, so we don't want to have the climbing varieties. We want to have the ones that actually like they don't lodge, so they can be harvested later with the normal harvester that the farmers already have on their farms.
Great.
So we don't want to have like special machinery that has to be used. So everything should be hopefully work with the normal machinery that the farmers have.
And I hear that, I know that in Germany it's still a bit uncommon. It's very few farmers who are growing beans for the dry seeds right now. So that's nice that you are doing these trials, because then you can give them some references if they want to grow them, right?
Yeah, and I think we still have to know a lot about the differences between the different varieties. I mean, the diversity of beans is so big, but yeah, I mean the actual like the growing time in Germany is not that long, so we actually have to check for the varieties that that get into ready to be harvested in time before winter or autumn comes.
Yeah. We have one question about peanuts. Maybe you want to go to the chickpea field already while you answer this question, if this works for you. Gudrun is asking, is it the first time that you are growing peanuts? Maybe there are other experiences in Germany or nearby that you can tell something about? And how often do you need to water them?
So we actually we had peanuts already in our show garden. So generally we have like a show garden here for people passing by on the bikes. So we had them in the show garden for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years already. But all the other years, except of last year, we had varieties that were just too late. So they were not even ready in November, and then it got very wet, and then the mice came and they liked them a lot as well. So we couldn't really harvest anything. And then last year we got other varieties that a farmer in Switzerland gave to us, but he has them from Bulgaria, and they seem to be much earlier in their growth. So actually last year we could harvest, and so we are pretty positive for this year. And about irrigation, so we have a very dry, sandy soil. So our field don't hold much soil moisture, so we have the option to irrigate, and we actually did irrigate them at the beginning just to give them like the moisture they need to germinate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But generally, I wouldn't provide them like extra irrigation during the season too much. Yeah.
Thanks. We see that you're walking quite a long way to your chickpea plot. Carola's garden is very big. Actually, it's more a research station than a garden, and that's why. Are you close to the chickpeas now?
Yes,
okay.
Kind of close. It's
okay. You don't have to rush too much. You can tell us a bit about why you are testing chickpeas, because I know you have been testing chickpeas for quite some years already. It's not completely new to Germany, even though it's still not very known by lots of consumers, and not every farmer has heard of it, right?
Yeah, it's still a pretty new crop, but the idea behind it is basically chickpeas are a plant that can deal with drought, and the risk of dry summers is getting higher and higher in Germany, of course, depending on the region. But a lot of farmers are looking for alternative crops that still yield good under dry conditions. And also more and more farmers actually realize that they they actually want to produce for human consumption more and more. Like there's a lot of farmers that actually like to have like the direct contact to the consumers. At Chickpeas is a very good plan for that because you can sell them directly. Yeah, so that's the two main reasons. And yeah, the same like for the beans, like there's a lot of varieties worldwide, but we still don't know which ones are the best to grow here in Germany. And that's why we try to actually compare them next to each other. So we have the direct comparison between the different varieties. Good, thanks a lot. As you can already see here, we have to enter a fence. It's because the rabbits love chickpeas and they would just eat everything. We have just maybe a short minute left. If you manage to show us some flowers or some pots, I guess not everyone in the public has seen chickpea plants. Yeah, great. So this is Kabuli type variety. So they have cream colored seeds like this. Very nice. This variety, I mean, you could probably see the pots and when you open them, you can already see the first seeds in here. Yeah, they are still very tiny and they will now fill with the sort of some starch and some proteins and yeah, and then dry out, right, before you harvest them. Very nice. Thanks a lot, Carola, and your assistant who's been filming, right? Yes. Thanks to both of you. It was really nice to see these three crops and to have your point of view of them as an expert of these crops for Germany. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Carola. And we can move on to another garden who is also growing unusual legumes for Germany, which is the Global Field in Berlin. And I think it's not called the Global Field for no reason.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello. Hi, dear colleagues of the Global Bean. It's really interesting to hear a little bit from all of you, but let me show you a bit of our field here in Berlin. In German, it's 2,000 Quadratmeter. In English, it's 2,000 square meters global field. And you can ask yourselves, why 2,000 square meters? Well, if we divide the total cropland of the world around 1.5 billion hectares by the worldwide population, about 8 billion people, this results in 2,000 square meters. And on our 2,000 square meters here in Berlin, Germany, we grow the world's most important agriculture following the annual report of the FAO, where cereals represent half of it, followed by oil crops, grain, legumes, roots, and vegetables. But today we're here to talk about legumes, so follow me.
Yes, please show us what legumes you are growing there and maybe how you do them, how you manage to grow them in Berlin.
As you also hear from Carola, the summer is really hot nowadays. So I'm showing you now our lentils. And we planted our lentils in May and as a middle May, and we expect to harvest them in August. They will reach a height between 20, more or less. Now we have it now, and they will reach an ultimate height of 40 centimeters. Yeah. The
Now the connection is a little bit slow.
5.4 million hectares worldwide.
Yeah.
And other word now?
Yeah, it works better.
Okay. So the lentils represent 5.4 million hectares worldwide. So they represent more or less 7.7 square meters here at our global field. And next to our lentils, we have our dry peas. Exactly. We build this trellis or like bamboo teepees for the dry peas as a climbing aid, because the dry peas climb up using its tendrils, who are like those kind of fingers, if we say it. So they climb up and they will reach a height we expect between 50 and 80 centimeters. And
you have two varieties here, right?
Yeah, right. We plant these both peas in May, and we expect to harvest them in July. But the second variety that you mentioned now is this one that is known as Swiss giant, because it will reach 2 or more meters in height. So we are expecting a really tall plant now, but let's see. But as Carola also mentioned, the situation at the moment in Germany is kind of difficult, and we have sand soils, and our summer is really hot at the moment, so let's see. But also we have, let me show you our last legume that I would like to share with you today, our chickpeas. We decided to plant 2 varieties of chickpeas, the traditional yellow ones and black, and another variety of chickpeas that are black, and they are known as black Kabuli. Chickpeas represent 14.5 million hectares worldwide, around 20.8 square meters at our acre. As Carola also mentioned, and because of the conditions or the weather conditions in Germany are kind of dry at the moment, we expect to have a more or less good harvest in August. So if we continue sharing our monthly photos, we expect also to have chickpeas soon. Yeah.
I take the opportunity to remind that we have this YouTube channel where you can already see at least one video from the global field in Berlin. So please do have a look, and there will be much more videos coming in the next weeks. Now, Benny is asking if we also can go to the soybeans. It's true that no one else from the show gardens, as far as I know, is planning to show soybeans now. So we still have a few more seconds, if it's not all too far, that you can show us what soybean plants look like.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a little tour here. We have also here our beans, but we can walk a little bit more. Here we have our maize field.
It's really nice to have some kind of small replication of what's growing on the planet. It makes a nice diversity for a small area. That's really nice to see.
And here we have our soy plants.
Yeah, have they started flowering already or not?
Not,
okay.
Not yet. They are still pretty young, and we plant them in at the beginning of April, because the weather was not really too hot in March, and in April was kind of better. Also, the soil temperature was optimal for planting. Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. I don't see specific questions in the chat now, so please stay with us, Sarah, for the question round in the end. And now we can move on to our next garden. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And now we have seen on a small scale what is growing in the world. And we also have on a very small scale, because we have Ellie from Tiny Farms. If she is here, maybe she can explain what a tiny farm is.
Yes, hi. So
Hello.
I'm Elisabeth, and I am not in the garden now because I actually live in Berlin and farm outside in Brandenburg. And a tiny farm is a small market gardening garden. We produce organic vegetables, and our idea is, or the vision is actually to have 1,000 tiny farms in 10 years. So let's see, it's very ambitious. And in our first two tiny farms that we have now in Brandenburg, we're doing some trials on legumes, which I'm very excited about. So we're on a, let's say, commercial scale, try to find ways how to like economically grow interesting legume varieties as vegetables, but also as dry seeds. But that's just a small experiment you see here. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So, yeah, so better 1,000 tiny farms than 1,000 hectare farm, right?
That's the idea, exactly.
Yeah.
And we want to digitally connect them.
Yeah, so we see on the pictures here at Azuki bean, you are trying some peas and some climbing beans. You have a nice diversity for a tiny farm. Who do you sell these products to then?
So this bean diversity is actually in a close cooperation with a restaurant in Berlin, and that with who we decided together which beans to grow. But we also sell some of the beans to some other beans to caterers, organic supermarkets, but also in direct marketing. So quite diverse. And special about selling to a restaurant is, of course, and also growing fresh vegetable legumes, that there's a short time span of harvest. So we need to be quite precise in the communication. And actually also today, I just had some phone calls about pea sizes with the chef, because we needed to decide together what stage they wanted to be harvested in. Yeah.
Because of course, then the texture and the taste are different, right? If you wait a few more days, or I think on the next slide, there is a picture of some peas. Can you move, Claudio? Exactly. On the right here. That would be a good stage for this restaurant, or is it already too late?
And for them, this is already a bit too big. They like it to be even a bit smaller. But yes, so it really depends also always what you want to do with it. I found that even sugar snap peas are quite yummy if you harvest them too late, but it of course depends what you want to do with them. And yeah, I didn't talk about the Italian variety that we're trying. That's a little like personal experiment, because I think it's quite interesting. And I think that probably varieties will have to travel. So in the first picture, you can later look at it, where you could also see this, maybe if somebody from Italy is here, greeting to the Fagiolone della Valle Pietra. It's a very nice slow food variety that for now it's working quite well in Brandenburg.
Okay, and maybe the next slide, we have some more legumes you are growing as vegetables, right? Can you tell us about edamame?
Yes, we just saw it in the garden, really beautiful. We're at a similar stage now. Edamame is basically a green soybean, which also has a very short span of harvest because it becomes yellow. So, and then you know it from Japanese cuisine, it's very delicious.
Yeah, yeah, that's the soybean plants we just saw at the Wehrda at the global field with Sarah. Now you see the pods, and if you wait a bit longer, then you harvest the dry seeds that are used for feed, right?
Exactly.
Or for tofu, or yeah.
Exactly, and yes, Gudrun, I agree. We should eat more fava beans instead of feeding them to animals.
Thanks a lot, Ellie.
So
super nice.
There are also two questions for you, Ellie, if we have time.
Sure.
How much money can you make from a tiny farm?
That's a quite direct question. I don't know how you mean that question exactly, but for sure, actually this year we're trying a new model, because it is especially challenging to grow legumes commercially in vegetable production, because it's quite labor intensive, as you can see on the right. So actually this year we're trying to apply kind of CSA model to a B2B level. So maybe, contact me if you want to know more. And yes, and about, I don't know if I should like open up every numbers, but maybe let's talk in person, Benedict, and I can tell you more.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ellie. Thanks a lot. Please stay at 6 if you can. There will be more questions for about the gardening technique, maybe. Thanks so much.
And now we are ending this tour with a garden in Greece. So we have been to Kenya, we have been to Germany, and now we are going to Greece with Cito Seeds and Anastasia. Maybe.
Good evening, I'm here.
Hi, Anastasia, welcome. I know that Nikos is also in the room.
Nikos is also here, and he is in a beautiful beach in Creta, where he's watching us from with his family. He's not in the farm, but...
Great, great. So where is that garden that you're going to show us today?
Garden is in North Greece, in the area of Thrace, Komotini. It's a small garden. I mean, the garden is not that small, but the actual place where he grows legumes is 700 square meters.
And you told me he grows 3 different varieties of fresh beans. Is
Yes.
one not enough? You need the 3 of them? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, actually, the taste is different of each of them. So he grows them for his family and also for seed saving. So they like the taste of all 3 of them. And they're different. I mean, even though there are two of the varieties, the first variety that now you see in the slides is the white-eyed cowpeas, which is cooked lightly boiled, like 20-30 minutes, and eaten fresh as a salad, as you see them in the pictures. It is a very special dish, especially in Cyprus and in the islands of the Aegean. So the taste is particular.
Nice.
And, yes, he grows them with intercrop with corn. And he leaves one plant in its nest. Whereas in the other variety that we will
Can you
see.
show the next slide, please? Yeah.
He leaves more plants. He doesn't remove any.
Okay, so the plant density needs to be higher for that second variety.
Excuse me?
The plant density in the end will be higher.
Exactly. It is 5 seeds in every nest, whereas in the other one, initially he plants 5, but then removes the rest and leaves the one that seems stronger. This is how the older people, the old generation used to do it. So this is how he learned how to do it. And these beans are cooked with tomato sauce and onion. This is a normal way to eat them. They seem similar. They look similar, but the taste is very different. You can tell the difference.
It's another species, of course, because the cowpea and the common bean are different species. Still quite close, but not the same. Yeah. And then you have a third one.
And the third one is a normal, as we call them, climbing bean, but the color is yellow. Color is not green. So they are cooked the same way as the previous ones with onion. This is the typical way we cook them in Greece. Onion, tomato, and garlic, and herbs and spices according to each one's taste. Yes, this is a more typical, let's say, kind of plant.
And they can reach above 2 meters, right?
2.5 for sure.
Yes. Thanks so much for this diversity of beans as fresh products, as vegetables. We've seen quite a few of them now with Ellie also. Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks to Nikos for showing us all this and for his beautiful pictures.
Nikos is listening, and he's very glad that he can contribute, and also with videos in the near future.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I think we can move on to next slide. So yeah, I wanted to say a big thank you to all the show gardeners for showing us their plots, their gardens, and telling us more about their work. We've seen a lot of diversity here on the pictures. You see on the left diversity of seeds that then come in all kinds of shapes and forms and colors and flowers in the gardens. And on the right, we have another garden of the show gardens that couldn't be here today in Switzerland. They have a beautiful view and also do lots of educative work. Claudio, can you press one more on the slide? So yeah, please, big round of applause, of virtual applause for our show gardeners today. And please don't leave after the announcement, because we still have some time for you to ask your questions to the experts in the end at 6. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So as Nicolas said, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to all the show gardeners. And we have a few updates from the Global Bean Project. Please subscribe to our newsletter to not miss out on any next events, which will be a cooking event in July. We don't know yet how many spots will be open to the public, but we will keep you updated if you do subscribe to the newsletter. And maybe if Claudia is here, she can talk a bit about the cooking event. I don't know if she...
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I have the pleasure to kindly invite you to our next open session that will be the Cooking Together, the summer edition. It will be on the 14th of July, and we will meet at 5 o'clock and then expand till 6:30. And then, yeah, we want to have it like an open space that we could still stay together after the cooking and chat a little, whoever wants. So the structure of the course will be first a little introduction about cooking culture and also about legumes in general. And then we will make together a lentil salad. So I think it was so cool today to share gardens, and then we can share kitchens. I have really nice experiences with this. You see a picture there also on a slide. And in my courses, it's always important for me to not only share recipes, but also to explain the concepts behind the recipes, so you can, you know, exchange whatever is the season, whatever grows in your region, because the local aspect is always very important for us. And so you will get a welcome document in advance if you register, with the list of the ingredients and also the utilities that you need. And then when we meet, we will cook step by step, slow food. I also would like to invite you to bring your favorite legume recipe to the class, so that we want to start a recipe collection in the Global Bean Network. So I think we already started. There have been recipes, and yes, we want to continue this.
And if you have recipes, don't hesitate to send them to our email address, which is bean@2000. I will just write it in the chat.
Yes, so I would be happy to see you, and also you can promote the event via your channels. Yes, and I'm happy to cook with you next month. Thank you.
Now, very quickly, because we have 2 minutes left, but we already talked about it earlier, so you can fill in our feedback questionnaire, so that we can let us know how we can improve the sessions, so that if you're in the next sessions, we can bring you even better and more dynamic sessions. And also you can follow us on our platforms, which is Instagram, send us an email, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thank you for being here. And now it is almost 6, so I will give the word back to the gardeners.
Yeah, I think we have been on time, because unfortunately our partners from Munich that we were connected to in the very beginning had too slow connection, and they wrote in the chat. So before opening the room for questions, I would like to tell you about what they are doing. They have been producing a very, very nice video where they show different methods of seeding the beans and how they build the teepees to let the climbing beans grow. They are maintaining about 200 common bean varieties, mainly all varieties, because they are beautiful, but also to maintain some independence from the big seed companies. And they also, yeah, they showed, as I said, different ways of seeding. how they manage water and all these topics. So if you have questions about growing beans, they are really big experts because they have been working with so many different varieties since more than 10 years. So please have a look at their video. And now we can go to the next slide where I would like to open the room for questions. I'm sure that some of the gardeners in the public have some specific questions to ask to some of our show gardeners now. Claudio, could you bring back the slides, please? Thanks so much. Yeah, so the idea is not that we can have now 20 minutes or less or more as you want to ask the legume experts some questions or to give us your best tips from your own experience. It can be about varieties, some more exotic species as we've seen, some problems with pests and diseases and how to deal with them. How do you multiply your own seed? How do you find the best sowing technique? Or how do you cook the products from your garden, etc., etc. Now it's very free. I think we had some questions in the chat that we didn't have the time to answer, so we can also start from there. But now you can also open your microphone and ask your questions directly if you want. We had a really nice feedback from Florian, who says that he is a newcomer to gardening and legumes and that he liked the way the gardeners share their passion for their works. Thanks a lot, Florian.
So there is a question for Tanya from Elizabeth. She says that it's great to see you again and see you realize the stream. And she asks how you managed to finance the garden.
Is Tanya still with us?
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
great.
Yeah, how we finance the garden. So we got supporting financing through the food council, the local food council of Marburg, and we got some financing from the city of Marburg, who supported that we could buy the materials for the show garden. And the field is given by one of the last farmers. So we are cooperating together with him, helping him to grow the vegetables that he will then sell on a weekly market that we now introduced here to the village.
Thanks, Tanya. I think this answers the question really well. Someone else has a question? I take one from the chat now while you prepare your questions. There was one for Carola about the peanuts. If Carola is still with us, I think she is.
Yes.
Benny was saying that they had some peanuts on their global field in Berlin, but they had a really small harvest. How do you expect the yield to be, and do you have a specific variety that is going to work better in our European climate?
Yeah, well, we don't have much experience with varieties yet. Yeah, so yeah, no, we don't have the experience with the varieties, so I can't really say much about yield expectation either, because we actually really only had 1 year of harvest, and at the moment it's still a hand harvest. But I know that like this farmer in Switzerland, he tried to do a more mechanical harvest, and he changed like a potato harvester, like in own construction to actually fit it to the peanuts. So it can be done, but in terms of yield and especially yield stability over years, I don't really have the experience yet.
Yeah, so for this kind of exotic crops, we really rely on some crazy pioneers. I say crazy in the positive way, of course. And the people who say, okay, let's adapt a potato harvester to try to harvest the peanuts. That's, yeah, this kind of fun stories I really love. Thanks a lot, Carola, for sharing. There is a comment from Kathleen in the chat who says that she has no machinery. She likes to harvest the fresh products because not keen on drying the beans, I guess, or other crops. That's the great value of legumes. I mean, they are so diverse that there are some for farmers who want to grow them on lots of hectares and harvest, for instance, chickpeas. We have one example as a show garden in the south of Spain. He couldn't join today, but he's growing 40 hectares of chickpeas. So of course, it's not at all the same work as growing a few beans in your backyard where you can go harvest by hand. Yeah, such a diversity of plants and then of ways to grow them. Benny is telling us that we could switch back to the EBZ garden. Mark and Andrea, seems like your connection is a little bit better, maybe. So if you can, I unmute you, or yeah.
Now you can hear me.
Yes.
I'm sitting now on a bank in the shadow with the laptop.
Yeah,
and now it works.
I tried to describe very briefly what you would have liked to show. It's a pity that because of technical reasons, it was difficult, but I don't know if you want to say a few more words. I know you wanted to talk also about a specific project, which is called the area buffet. Maybe you can say something about that or what you like. Right, now you are muted again.
Yeah. The people from Wehrda, they must know how they call it because the idea comes from the Wehrda project in Berlin. And it's just, we know that animal or proteins from like pigs they need much more resources. And the Flächenbuffet means we have planted various dishes in order to show how much space you need for a dish, and especially in comparison like a vegetable dish with lentils, peas, potato, I don't remember, some just this stuff, only vegetable. Then we have spaghetti with tomato sauce, spaghetti with meat sauce, and the typical German dish, schnitzel with potatoes. And it's just, you need much more space for the meat dishes. It's clear to us. But here, that's the ecological education center in Munich where we do this. And there are many people who just go for a walk, and it's when you see that the difference in area you need and land, it's a resource which is very limited. We hope that some people start thinking about their meat consumption, because everybody talks about we cannot feed the world, we have too many problems, we have too many people, more or less. But you can also turn it around and say we have the wrong nutrition. So that's really, I hope some people start thinking.
Thanks,
sometimes
Andrea.
we get a feedback, but yeah.
I think it's a really nice idea. I'm sharing my screen now so you can see it's only in German, unfortunately, but this is a picture on the website of the global field. Yeah. And this is how it looks like. It's a really nice way to visualize the area that you need for one plate. Here it's like a very typical German dish. It's the potato, peas, lentil stew with the sausage. And you see that you need maybe more like half of the area to grow the soybean, which is to be fed to the animals that we produce the meat. So then you could compare this. Maybe on the side there was another plot showing a vegan dish, and then you would probably see that you need less area if you eat less animal products, etc. So yeah, that's a great way to communicate about these issues in a very visual way, right?
Exactly.
Thanks, Andrea.
Maybe I can complement that. The idea there, and there is always big discussions at these plots, right? Usually between the men and the women. I told you we shouldn't eat that much meat. You can really see how much square meters you will have for dinner tonight, right? And then when you think of these 2,000 square meters as the area you have available per person worldwide in 1 year, you can also think of how do you distribute your more or less 5 square meters you have per day. And yeah, you will see that eating the soybeans directly will make a big difference in terms of the square meters. But what I wanted to ask you, you also have this project of reproducing seeds, isn't it? And you're looking for partners who would multiply some of these 200 varieties of beans that you are growing in Munich, isn't it?
Andrea?
Exactly. Yeah, I just had to activate the micro again. Of course, we need more people. We don't have neither the space here nor the manpower or women power to multiply 200 common bean varieties. The problem is bean seeds are only you have to plant them like every 3 to 4 years. If you keep the seeds at room temperature or at normal temperature, then they lose their capacity to germinate, and they are just dead. So you have to keep them really alive and plant them quite often. Tomato seeds and other seeds are less. Warum ist jetzt wieder weg?
Nein?
No?
We can hear you.
Okay, now I can see you again. So we have a network over Germany established, and it's like, how many participants? 50 to 100, some more active, some helping every year. But it's a lot of, it's now, we are at the limit now, because like 50, 60, 70 varieties per year, multiplying means these variety, we try to get descriptions from the multipliers who help us, because we want to maintain the differences in varieties. And common beans normally don't kreuzen. Cross. But sometimes they do. So you really have to. I could have shown to you if we planted in our show garden here in the ÜBZ a dwarf bean, a small bean, and I'm pretty sure we really only put similar seeds, so the correct seeds. There was no mixture because it's we did it ourselves. But one is like a climbing bean, and it was very interesting. It's like half a square meter, the whole area, and there is just one stick at the other end of this area, and this climbing bean found this stick. I don't know how. It's like as if they had ice. I just showed it to Mark. It's really impressive. So beans are, yeah, it's fascinating. The beauty how we do it, and you learn so much about nature, about And I'm also, and also the group here at the ÖBZ and people who help us, we tried to like develop our own variety, because sometimes they cross and you have suddenly a new bean. Then you replant it the next year, but the outcome is something different again. And one of the group has now one like selected, and it's now the 4th year and it's part of our show garden. So we will see in the end whether it worked now. And maybe we have now our own, a new variety. It's still a common bean, but another like design of the bean kernel. But it takes years to do it, and it needs selection work. And so the huge variety of common beans, like 800, yeah, I don't know, probably thousands of varieties. How much work we rescue, which has been done in the past. So I'm really always, astonished how they did it. And I'm sure it was also part of the beauty of the beans in this case, that when you see a new design, you want to keep it. It's like a marvel. And yeah, it's very self-motivating almost when you work with beans. So we don't work on like regional varieties. I have collected, it's like it started with a yellow eye bean, and then I just bought and collected different ones from all over Germany, from Austria, from Switzerland, from private archives like what we have now. Some died already in our archive. We planted too late or whatever, and I can't find it anymore. So probably we have lost already some. And we try to keep now as many as possible. We try also to network at least over Germany this year or maybe next year. It's all, that's not my main work. It's just only in my spare time, in order to focus on those which are not multiplied in other archives, in order to maintain, like, as community, as many as possible. And we must not forget possibly some genetic material that's important in the future with climate change, etc. Okay, now I've talked enough.
Thanks so much, Andrea. It's really fascinating to hear you describe your amazing work. Lisa, you wanted to say something?
Yes, hi everyone. I talked to Gabby a few weeks ago, and she was saying, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Andrea, that you would be looking for new sustainers or for other groups who also do this, and so that you can get in touch with them and not sustain the same varieties.
Exactly.
So we were thinking maybe to create a sheet with a protocol where sustainers across Europe or beyond who are in touch also with the Global Bean Project can identify themselves and maybe start filling in some information that can be relevant, like climatic conditions or something like that. Do you think that makes sense, or what would be the next step you suggest for us to connect?
For connecting is just, I think, time of, in German, Fleißarbeit, like to get an overview who multiplies what at the moment. That would be my first. I started some years ago, but then I stopped again. Like there are big archives, like Arche Noah in Austria and stuff like that. And there are some German archives that are not active anymore because they were like a family doing it. But in my opinion, we have to, like, there is already a database. We have to do with it with a database system, I think. And there is one in German, but they describe not perfectly, and they are Yeah, I'm still not very clear how we can do it most efficiently without spending too much effort into it. And then the next, not problem, but fact is that beans have different names, but are probably the same or a very similar variety. Like we have several ones, we are quite sure one is from New Zealand. I got it from a friend of mine, knowing that we collect common beans, and now we got it from a different source as under a different name. So there would also, or is still work to be done to get which different names are the same bean, in order to also put it together and reduce the number of things we have to multiply and maintain. Yeah, let's say I try to think a bit more about it and make and contact maybe the first people working on this database already, and to connect with them. First, I think some years ago they have already asked, they have contacted us, but as we have limited time, it's just a matter of, if somebody gives me lots of money, I will do it. If somebody pays it, it's a problem, but.
Okay, thank you so much. I will get in touch again with Gabby and we will try, we will.
Exactly, and I will talk to Gabi, but we, and make a suggestion, something.
Great, sounds good. And if anyone here around is interested to participate, you can also feel free to contact us at Global Bean, and we can start to think about it and start with the European network of sustaining the seeds. You can write at bean at 2000 meter.
I'm in close contact with Gabi.
And then exactly, and we will get in touch. Great, thank you. Yeah.
I shared the slide again to see if there are more questions about gardening techniques. Otherwise, maybe it's time to go to the garden because it's not so hot anymore, and maybe there are some beans to take care of. I don't know.
Exactly.
I will have a look at mine before I leave for vacation, because they will probably reach 1 meter while I'm not there, so I will not be able to take a picture for the contest. Lisa?
I will also go to my garden, and actually I was experimenting this year to grow some beans and peas, and I heard that it's very important that they get regularly water. Do you have some experience about this? How important it is that they are regularly irrigated eventually?
Is it a question for Andrea or for the whole
everyone,
room?
like in comparison to other other vegetables, like how is there some tips that you have? Like, is it possible to plan a holiday and still grow some beans in your garden, or what can we do about that?
Maybe I can try to give an answer if no one appears. Yeah, the beans, like soybean as well, are mostly sensitive to drought when they are building the flowers and the pods and filling the seeds. Before that, they can stand some drought, some water stress, but during flowering and at pod filling, it's really crucial that they get sufficient amount of water. So if you plan to go on holiday just at that moment, like just what I'm going to do, which is the worst thing to do, you should either have some neighbors who come and water, or have some automatic watering system, or you can build some stuff with some bottles that you put upside down if you're not going too long, or if you have a soil that is deep enough and retains water good enough, then you don't really need to water the beans, depending on your climate, of course. But if you really want to improve the yield, it's important that they do get water in some way or the other at that time, right? Maybe Andrea, you have something to complement, or do you agree?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we experienced also. We had some years ago, I don't remember, 2017 or something, a very dry summer. hot and dry. And we thought, okay, hot, very good for common beans. Dry, we water, we irrigate. We don't think about the water. That's not the way we want to do it. But we said we are also like a show garden every year, and we watered them. But despite that, they did not. They had flowers, but no beans, basically. And then the weather changed, and they started like a second cycle.
Mhm.
They flowered, and they had beans.
Yeah, depending on the varieties, they have specific limits of temperature where the flowers just cannot stand. If it's 40 degrees, some beans, the flowers will just drop, they will abort. But then if later on, if it's cool again, it's okay, the temperature is below this threshold, then they can produce new flowers. Yeah.
But I think it was not only the temperature, it's also like like a natural humidity is different to irrigation, or okay, this year we will start also, that's one tip, mulching. So far we were always a bit hesitant with that because slugs. We have the problem with slugs. I could have shown, technique has worked. I seeded some varieties in pots before, and we planted them at the same day when we put the seeds in of the rest of the varieties in our show garden. And I thought, okay, one is now like more than a meter. It's quite strong, it worked. No slugs, nothing. And the other variety, like I treated them the absolutely same way in pots, etc., with the same soil, irrigation, everything. One is almost eaten completely by slugs, and the other one is fine. So it's anyway. That's why we are hesitant with mulching, because everybody says, okay, mulching, of course, risk with more slugs. But now it's very dry, and we will start. And I'm not sure whether it's really mulching. You have to do like always a small layer and replace it regularly. So not a thick layer of mulch, that's underneath slugs. But when you have a fine layer, it reduces evaporation and does not attract really slugs. And I will now collect like material which I can use for mulching over summer. And at the moment, it's anyway here in Munich so dry that it's no problems with slugs anymore, or not a big problem.
Thanks a lot for the tip. I didn't know that. I was planning to put a lot of mulch, then I would probably have a bad surprise when I come back. Yeah. Some other questions? I really want to run to see my beans now.
Yeah.
If they're still okay. Well,
I think we can end this here, maybe.
yes. Thanks so much for everyone for participating, and especially the show gardeners who have taken the time to be there live answering your questions and showing us the diversity of their gardens. I was very happy to have you today with us. Thanks, Anne, also for helping to prepare this event, and to Claudio for the technical support.
Thank you also from me to you, to the three of you, Nicolas especially, and Anne. Claudio, also thanks for the technical support. Thank you to the show gardens for joining us today. It was a very inspiring event. I really enjoyed it myself too. So also from me, thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time. To the next event.
See you.
Goodbye.
Bye.